as I continue to work on the outside of my project, the inside really needs a lot of love too. The inside of mine, while it is clean somewhat, I have a very annoying problem with the shift boot and the emergency brake with its leather or vinyl material failing and flaking off and going literally everywhere inside the car. So I'm looking to replace that, and as well changing this out to a wireless CarPlay unit in the car, and a special change that I've been really looking forward to. I have an 05 STi gauge cluster that I'm going to be swapping into my 05. So before I get to installing this, I just want to knock out the easy stuff first. So that's going to include swapping out the different boots and then changing out the radio to then finally put in this unit. I went with a Toto F7 WE head unit. I originally learned about these when I was looking at different head units for my Grand Cherokee, and I saw a lot of people use these. And so these are a really good budget option to have for a head unit that supports wireless CarPlay. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. If it sucks, honestly, they're pretty easy to swap out on these cars. So let's go ahead and get started. I guess I'll begin just by changing out the shift boot. You'll have to excuse the absolute mess of my toolbox. I'm still in the middle of recording the video of me painting the car, like painting the spoiler, the scoop, and the valences. So you can see this thing's pretty disgusting, and it's literally flaking in my hand. So let's go and swap this out. All right, I literally knocked over my camera trying to show how to take this out, but I ultimately just had to pull this out of there, and then this got freed, and then you just have to pull out this little retainer clip that's inside there too. So I got replacement shift boots from stitchboots.com. It's a smaller business, but I'm happy to support them. I went with the Alcantara suede option. I will probably just throw that up in this clip of which package I got. So obviously by the end of this video you're going to see the fitment of this. So but at least from looking at it, the quality of the stitching is really well done. The material is really nice, and obviously it won't have that weird flaking effect like the factory vinyl option did. All right, and I went ahead and got the new one installed. Fitment's really good on there, so let's go and throw this back in the car. This thing is fucking shredded. Oh my god. All right, I'm not gonna lie, this was kind of a pain to install. So with the bracket out, I ended up needing to put a couple dabs of super glue between the bracket and the material for the handbrake boot in order to kind of keep it all together while you're clipping all this back in. So if you're going through the same thing, I'd probably recommend just doing that. Or if you have like headliner adhesive or something, just any kind of adhesive, just kind of hold the material against this bracket so you can set it in. So now I have it all done. Let's go ahead and put it back in the car. All right, so thankfully the Impreza kind of just already comes with a double DIN bracket in order to mount this, so I didn't really need to buy anything special. So all we got to do is just take out these screws, transfer over these brackets to the new head unit, and hook everything up. go ahead and went ahead and transferred over these original brackets. So let's go ahead and just do a quick test fit inside the car. And it fits pretty nice. I'm going to off camera go ahead and start running all my wires for my mic and the rear camera and stuff. So I will be right back. All right, and everything in the center console is looking amazing. So now we can finally move on to installing the STi cluster in my WRX. So a weird tricky part about this whole thing is knowing what kind of cluster to get. I believe if you have an 05 to 07 gauge cluster, and then you have an 05 to 07 WRX, the swap will be pretty much the same as what I'm about to do now. However, if you have an 05 to 07, but you got a gauge cluster from an 04 STi, then it becomes more difficult because I believe the problem is that the ABS light on the gauge cluster actually has a different voltage. And so if you use a different year gauge cluster that the 04 has, it'll always have an ABS light, even though you don't have any issues with your actual ABS system. It's just the light will always be illuminated. So you might want to keep that in mind. So if you have like an 04, make sure you try your best to get like an 04 cluster. But if you have an 05 to 07, definitely avoid try getting an 04 cluster, because you're going to have a bunch of problems trying to rewire a couple things in order to make it actually work when you could have just gotten an 05. Make sure you get a note of the current amount of miles that's on your odometer. Once you swap in your new cluster, this is going to be whatever the other cluster is set to. You're probably going to professionally have to have someone program the new miles on it. So keep that in mind. If you're in a state like where I am and part of your registration's actually mentioning your current odometer, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to whatever miles you put on your new cluster, and then add that on top of whatever your original value was here. So make sure you keep that in mind. So finally, we can start removing this cluster. So I'm pretty sure all we have to do is to remove this bezel is just take out these two screws here, which are just 2 Phillips. With the bezel removed, we just have to remove a few more screws in order to take out your cluster. So as you can probably already see, just got to take out this one down here. There's going to be one back here, and then this one up here in the center. So we're going to start the process of actually modifying these harnesses that lead to the gauge cluster so they work. So the first part is we're going to have to modify this third harness, the one all the way to the left. You're going to take the harness, flip it upside down so that way the tab side is facing down. And then you're going to have to take like a razor or just something that you can use just to flatten these notches down. I'm probably just going to try using a razor and just try cutting these. This way, so when you go to install in your gauge cluster, it'll actually fit. As you can see, I completed the process of shaving these down. Like I said, I just took a razor and just basically just kind of shaved these down. I may have to try trimming this one even more, but it should be fine for now, I think. Now we're going to move on to the process of depinning some of these harnesses and just adjusting some wires just so that way they actually work with your STi cluster. So I already went ahead and opened up the part, I don't know what you would really call it, like a cage or whatever. I just used a pick to open this up. But once you actually open this up, you're going to have to begin the process of removing a wire. So that wire is just going to be the second one over from the left. The best way I could describe it is that it's a white and a peach or a white and orange kind of color. So you'll basically just have to remove the wire that's second from the right. So this one here. You can do that by just, once you remove this cage, you can take a paper clip, or I'm going to try taking a pick I have and just try pressing up. So that way this just removes this pin from the harness, so that way we can move it and repurpose it for the second harness here. I got the wire D-pin from the harness, so we're just gonna go ahead and move this over to the second harness, so like the center one. And so you're just gonna be moving it now to this open slot on the fourth hole here. You'll know it's that one because it's open and it's on the side where the tab is facing. As you can see, I went ahead and already moved over that original cream cable I was talking about and put it in this new harness. We only have to move over one more wire at this point. So that wire is going to be a blue and red one that is on the side facing down. So that's the side with this like notch in the center. So that's pretty much the third wire over from the left. So kind of where my finger's at. We're gonna depin that, and then we're gonna move it over to an open slot that's over here. And then that's just going to be this second notch here from the right. I went ahead and moved over that wire now. So as you can see now on this second slot all the way from the right, now I have that blue and red wire here. So now this is complete, we can actually go ahead and swap in the new STi cluster. All right, I got all of the harnesses plugged in, so we're gonna go ahead and see if I have any warning lights. So that's already a good sign. It's showing and illuminating the open door sign. All right, and for the moment of truth, and as you can see, my gauges work perfectly fine. And so all of my gauge cluster works perfectly fine. I'm gonna go ahead and just start the car, just show that the RPMs and everything works on here. You're seeing the odometer is reflecting with what I originally was told from the listing. So that's pretty much to be expected. The outside temp, as far as I understand, that is only something that's accurate if you have a WRX with the automatic HVAC, that it can actually support that. So if you don't have that, I believe that just gives out some random number. I'm going to start the car and just verify that my tack and everything is working fine. And as you can see, that's working perfectly fine. My RPMs are reporting correctly and everything. So that's pretty much it. For the radio, I'm pretty happy with it. Just I've been daily driving the car for the most part and just been generally using it. Haven't noticed any kind of lagginess or any kind of issues with audio quality. Um, and I did go through the process of installing the rear camera, and it turned out pretty good. I have pretty good visibility, which sometimes you kind of need, especially when you got a gigantic spoiler that kind of gets in your way. So that's really handy as well to have. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much completes me finalizing, updating a lot of the nasty, cruddy interior pieces on this. So I can actually start looking forward to drive this thing in the winter. And that is it for me. I still got plenty of other work I got to be doing on this thing, including fixing the damaged fender. Probably at some point I'm going to have to spray the front bumper and just try to make it blend with the other panels and stuff. But for the most part, I can drive it around and just, like I said, been kind of dailing it the past few days and pretty happy with it. So if I inspired you to work on your WRX or just any of your cars, feel free to give this video a like. And if you're interested in more upcoming videos I got going on with this car or my C5 or any of my other projects, feel free to give my channel a subscribe. I try to upload once a week. So yeah, thank you so much.